Good morning, Paul Clarys, Stark County Commissioner. Today we're going to have episode 2 of our Public Safety Roundtable. Today we have our Sheriff, Mr. Corey Lee, joining us, and we're going to get into talking a little bit about the Sheriff's Department and their role in public safety across Stark County. You're actually running for your third term, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you've been around a minute here. That said, though, just for anybody that might not know you, give us a little bit of background in yourself and where you're from, how you got here, your process, your journey through this whole thing.
Well, thanks for having me today, Paul. I've been in law enforcement in Dickinson and Stark County for well over 20 years. I spent the majority of that time with the city of Dickinson. I was a canine handler for 14 years with the city here in that oil boom process that you were talking about. Obviously, I started here years before that came to fruition. So part of the reason I came here, I grew up in Minot originally. I'm a North Dakota boy, born and bred, third generation law enforcement. Grandfather was with Jamestown Police Department. My dad was with Ward County up in Minot. Excuse me. But when I came here, it was quiet little Dickinson. Mm-hmm. You know, we knew most of who everybody was, and especially when it came to crime and criminal matters, we knew who most of the players were. And then all of a sudden, as you know, that oil boom, fast and furious, changed life for all of us, not just law enforcement, but everybody in this community. And it was quite a drastic and unexpected thing for us in the police department. We weren't prepared for that. Nobody was really prepared for that in this community. And I can tell you from being here before until now, in a different role with the Sheriff's Department now since 2018, our community will never be the same. And you hear that from, I have I've developed several friends that came up from Texas over the years, and that was the first thing they told me when that oil boom again came to fruition. Like, your little community is never going to be the same again. Mm-hmm. And they're absolutely right.
For the good and bad.
For sure.
Right.
For sure. And they were, those conversations were mostly about the bad things, unfortunately. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's been a lot of great, wonderful people who have moved up into our area here, and families like you spoke to before, and they've made our little community a much better place. But that also comes with some challenges on the backside of it. So we've been dealing with that ever since. We have, I would say, our biggest things we're dealing with right now, of course, is the drug problem. That's ever increasing. We have fentanyl and some new things hitting the street right now as well.
I was just going to mention on that drug thing. I mean, there's always been drugs, and every community's always had some drugs. But the severity and the types that are here now. I mean, the impact that's making on all, not just the Sheriff's Department, but across the board and all the emergency services. It's been really big deal.
For sure. But again, you talk about day and night difference. So as a canine handler, that's what I did, for the most part. And back then it was marijuana, and however you feel about that, big deal or not. Back then, that's what we dealt with 80-90% of the time. Well, that's totally flip-flop now, and it's fentanyl, meth issues, mental health issues. Unfortunately, we deal with a lot of. We had to bring on a second detective at the Sheriff's Department just because of sex crimes, and that's adult and children. And it's amazing how much time those take up. So we're seeing such a different variety of things. I think, like you said before, that stuff's always been there, but the magnitude of all this stuff, especially with the mental health issues in the United States, is growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We should never forget about that. I mean, when I first came on the commission. Well, I mean, we've just seen a skyrocketing impact of mental health, and probably a lot of it has coincides with probably the drug problem here. I mean, I think there's a definite correlation between the two, so I mean, when you first started to now, I mean, you guys are responding to overdose, a lot of overdose calls. This mental health thing. How many think about all of the mental health calls that you guys are getting. And unfortunately, I mean, that is a portion of our, our matrix, if you will, public safety matrix, social matrix that we have, you know, at the county or the city level, even at the state, there has been, well, I think it's a really difficult problem to understand and fund and fix.
Well, it is, and again, we have a lot of hurdles and a lot of different things in a lot of different areas, and certainly we could spend a lot of time talking about that. But you know, we've always tried to do, and you and I have had these conversations before. We've always tried to do more with less with our sheriff's department. I think we've been. You talked about that $7.5 million. Well, right now we're below 3.5 million of that for our 34 employees, counting myself. And we've been very fiscally responsible. I mean, you know, I'm not pouting here or whatever, but
Well, that's your nature. I mean, you got a conservative nature. You're trying to.
I'm very conservative background, and you know, and I'll just use myself as an example. And again, I'm not kicking the carpet here, but I'm one of the lowest paid sheriffs in Western North Dakota, and that's okay. That's fine. And per capita, like Dickinson area, compared to, you know, the Jamestowns, the Grand Forks, the Minot's, Williston's, I'm on the bottom rung there, and that's okay. I'm worried more about my staff and those folks, and that's part of why I support this public safety tax. And it's not to give them an outrageous salary. It's to keep them competitive, and we have such. And let me expound on that a little bit. When we talk about turnover in law enforcement, it's outrageous right now. And almost every agency in North Dakota, as well around the country, are dealing with a horrendous amount of turnover right now. I mean, you look at Minneapolis, I think they're like 500 officers short, but that's a whole different reason why that's happening. But you look at us at the Stark County Sheriff's Department, whatever we're doing, and I'm not going to take the credit for it, it's my staff. These are wonderful people. We have, in the last 8 years, have had very minimal turnover. Well, what does that equate to? It equates to all kinds of cost saving. You look at a new deputy coming on the street, that's 13 weeks of FTO. That's another 13 weeks of the academy. So essentially, they're typically not truly on their own for 26 plus weeks. Mm-hmm. Well, that's half a year, right?
Significant investment.
Yes, and obviously all the equipment, and you know, you bring on a new sheriff's deputy or police officer, you have to have the correct size vest. It's not a one size fits all thing, so it's not something sitting in the basement where we can just bring out and give to the next guy. It's got to be measured and fit, and those are not cheap, as you know, and all the other equipment that goes with it.
Retention of employees is huge. You know, you have a large, you know, pretty good chunk of money sunk into one person here, but culture matters a lot, right? Culture's huge. I think that, you know, your culture, I mean, I think the county commission is very committed to public safety. I think we've tried to keep our wages as competitive as possible. But yeah, that retention, and that's how you grow, you know, continuity. Continuity is huge. And I mean, it makes everybody safer when your officers have a lot of experience and have been around the block, know the people a little bit.
Well, I think that's the biggest aspect. So I think you or I or anyone else, when we call law enforcement and we have a face show up that we know, we're that much more comfortable. Mm-hmm. Not only that, the longer the officers and the deputies are in the area, like I said initially here, we know the players, we know who's who. It's easier to solve crimes because you know where to look, you know who to talk to, you have all those connections. Having sustained law enforcement officers in your area is such a benefit, and I think that goes unnoticed or unthought about a lot when we look at the law enforcement agencies.
Oh, and people don't stick around organizations unless they feel like they're being supported appropriately. Like I said, we talk about just, you know, pay is obviously a big, you know, and we're obviously, we like that, you know, that family culture. We want people to have families, and I mean, and it takes a lot of money to raise a family. But you know, every officer, you know, he's got to believe that the department's, you know, the continuing training, right? How are they advancing in their career? And so, I mean, we offering those type of opportunities, and you know, unfortunately, everything, I mean, nothing's for free. Right, and like I said, to sustain those officers and keep them activated and really, you know, up to speed on new techniques, new law enforcement techniques, and then we can even move into like even providing them with the appropriate technology. We just discussed this a little bit at our last county commission meeting here. You have a new contract coming up on your body cams. Well, I mean, more for, in case you didn't know, I mean, a set of body cams for our department's, what, roughly $500,000?
Yeah, we're looking at about $500,000 for the new setup, and obviously that's sticker shock and people go, what the heck, but body cams are a very, I'm not even gonna say a necessary evil, because they're not really an evil anymore, but that's what we thought back in the day. But now you don't have body cams, you're gonna pay a heck of a lot more in lawsuits and legal fees and things like that. So it's good for the officer, it's good for the public.
Absolutely.
It's good for everybody. Not only that, these body cams are doing some great things with translation, different languages and things like that. So it makes the interactions again easier and safer for us on the street. So again, a very, very necessary tool on our tool belt anymore these days, and it's good for everyone.
And I mean, body cams is just one example of costs. But that now, that is no longer an option. It is an absolute necessity in law enforcement. I mean, it's become a standard, and like you said, that's for our department and that's for the public's safety, right?
Correct.
It's basically there's some accountability on both sides. Public safety equipment is no different than the private side. Costs have gone up every year. I mean, it doesn't matter if we're buying a cruiser, all the equipment, all the radio equipment, all the equipment in general continues to rise, just like every other product that the citizen buys on the private market. Our market is no different than that. So that provides a challenge. And like I said, we're continually, I mean, I don't think we ever, we don't ever try to go overboard as far as, we don't want to tout ourselves as, we're the most technologically savvy department across the entire state. But you know what? Yeah, but you know what?
But like you said, Paul, and I know you're kind of going to get to this in a little bit maybe, but when you talk about equipment, you talk about cars, you talk about ambulances, you talk about fire trucks, you talk about anything we use, everybody uses those, right? Everybody utilizes our services, and that means everybody in southwest North Dakota, that means everybody driving down the interstate, that's stopping our community, that means everybody. And when you talk about this public safety tax, if we were a landlocked county in the middle of North Dakota, would I be for a public safety tax? Absolutely not. I wouldn't. It just makes no sense. But being where we are, being an oil boom hub community, being a tourist community, being the place everybody in southwest North Dakota, eastern Montana comes to.
Yep.
Everybody's coming here and using our services, but they're not paying for it. We're paying the buck. And when it comes to these tourists that are likely going to come into our community starting in June and July and pretty solidly, from what we hear, for the next 3-4 years and maybe beyond, those people aren't paying for our services either for the most part.
That's
so
right.
This is money that
and with high impact.
Yes, and this is money that we would be leaving on the table. Anytime you can bring outside dollars into your community, it's just a smart play. And again, do I want more taxes? No. Do you want more taxes? No. But this makes sense. This is a fiscally smart thing.
We talk about, going back to the taxes, and I hit on it in the beginning, we can broaden the burden here of this tax. Like right now, the services and the costs that we just got done talking about are solely on the backs of the property owners in this county, right? And so no one likes more taxes here, but I mean, if you want to try to keep your property tax at minimum flat, this is a great opportunity to do that.
Well, you're absolutely right. And again, I think most people know how conservative I am and how I lean that way. But you talk to me as a property owner, that's where I'm at. If you can keep my property taxes level, I'm happy. I'm happy as can be. If you drop them, I'm even happier. And that's the trend we're seeing in North Dakota right now. My mortgage payment just dropped because of what the state did, and they're going to continue to do that if we allow them to follow the process they're going down, which I hope we do, and it's a good thing. But in addition to this, and people, let's remind some folks that because we're seeing a lot of false information out there right now. Right, people saying, hey, and the people I worry about are low-income families, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing the bulk of low-income or even, senior citizens, low-income, set income,
Yeah, fixed income folks.
worried about groceries or buying vehicles. Well, those things don't apply.
No.
You're not going to see, you don't have a sales tax on most of the groceries that you buy. You buy a car, it's a state sales tax, that's it. There's no city sales tax on that. So those are the two major purchases, I think, for a lot of people in our community. And those aren't affected.
The one area where it's, where it's gonna be in the tourism side where I mean, we gotta be fully transparent. I mean, okay, so what is gonna get taxed? No, I mean, okay, hotels, okay, you go out to eat at a local restaurant, it's gonna be tacked onto that, okay? So, I mean, that is the case, but, like I said, it's an opportunity to spread that. It's not just our citizens in this city or in this county coming to Dickinson that eat in those restaurants. We're talking about some folks that are driving through. I mean, we've got this great, through this great thing, we're an interstate city. There's a lot of folks that are coming through here and stopping here and using our services. We're gonna be faced with some obstacles here, when that presidential library opens up. And you sat in the same meeting I sat in, we talked about, your overtime, what you're looking at as far as staffing levels during those times. And it's not because you guys like driving around and being present here. This is, I mean, there's going to be a significant amount of people that we're not used to having here. And this is not a problem. I mean, I think it's a good problem to have. I mean, we have, obviously, I think our local vendors and hotels and restaurants are going to do very well with this, and that's great. But it is also these costs, all that overtime, all that extra manpower, well, for one, it's not been budgeted for, and there is no help. There's not going to be any reimbursement for this. This is going to fall directly on the taxpayers of Stark County, and it's a problem. Like I said, it's a good problem to have, but it's also a problem we didn't create for ourselves here.
And I think certainly, I think the one that's going to be most consumed is the ambulance service.
Yes.
You talk about probably a larger demographic of older and maybe elderly people coming to see this museum. Initially, I think it's going to be a great family thing as well. Don't get me wrong, but and we're talking the summer months and heat, exhaustion, and all the things that come along with that. I think our ambulance is going to be severely overtaxed. Not the word we want to use here, probably.
Yeah. They are.
But
And
law enforcement is no different. And we talked about how fiscally responsible we've been with the sheriff's department. Well, that means we have per capita, per 1,000 people, we are one of the lowest in the state.
As far as staffing levels go?
Yes.
Okay.
So, now, not only are we having to deal with every outlying city and little town in Stark County, we're going to have to worry about, which we already do. We spend a lot of time backing up the PD as it is already in Dickinson. Well, that's going to go up exponentially during this time frame. What's going to happen outside the county? Well, we have to cover that, right? So you're absolutely right. We're going to talk about some huge overtime costs just to run our day-to-day function. And again, that's falling squarely on our backs when it certainly should be a contribution from these people coming and using our
Absolutely.
city and our services.
That overtime, none of this has been budgeted for. We know it's going to be an impact. How big yet? We just don't know. I have full faith that every first responder in your department will be prepared. We'll be ready for it, and we'll handle business for sure. But like I said, it takes dollars to do just that. Currently, your office and your facility is you're housed in the law enforcement center, the old law enforcement center there, right by McDonald's, and you're in the lower level of that. And when I came on, just give some folks an idea. When I first came on as a county commissioner, one of my portfolios was the law enforcement at LAC board, which is basically the maintenance board. We take care of that building over there, and oh my goodness, it was the challenges and just absolute train wreck. The infrastructure in that building was horrendous. Our sheriff's department, like I mentioned, they office out of the basement, we'll call our main level of that building, and the jail the inmates' cells are above them, and like I said, really deteriorating infrastructure there, and these folks were constantly dealing with, we'll call them challenges, Corey.
Let's backtrack here to 2015, when the new Public Safety Center was built. The Sheriff's Department remodeled the main, like you said, the main floor of the law enforcement center at that time. The walls were completely full of black mold. The Sheriff's Department moved from where they were at to where the PD had resided back in the day, and like I said, did that remodel. I think I wouldn't be too surprised when we pull those walls apart if we're back to the black mold again. Like you said, when an inmate decides to plug the toilet or do whatever upstairs, we get the brown water coming down on top of us. It's gotten a little better with some of the changes we've made.
We've made
recently,
a
but
we've made a commitment. I mean, that's one thing too. Deferred maintenance, all it does is cost you more money in the end. And we have tried to, we've shored things up there, and I know the maintenance crew over there. I mean, we've been working with those folks, and they're doing a better job tracking those things, and we're trying to be more and more proactive as we go along here. But through this process, we've identified a property there. We're looking at potentially moving the sheriff's office. We're under contract with the city of Dickinson actually to purchase the old armory. And it's an old building too. We went through it, and we feel like it's got good bones. Of course, Corey, you've been part of that process, and so talking about costs that are challenging going forward that right there, is probably a $2 to $3 million build to get that building up to snuff and get you guys in some appropriate accommodations. I think the building itself is going to offer some new advantages for you. But go ahead.
And again, that's we talk about $2 or $3 million. That's a burden to our property taxpayers.
Absolutely.
Right? When it could be something that's shared throughout, Southwest North Dakota, and with every citizen that visits our area. Again, and I hate to kick this dead horse, but it's true. And people will ask, why don't you take a building here or there? Well, it's kind of important that number one, I think that armory the bones are good, like you said, and I just think it needs a remodel. But it's very important for us to be on campus. We do a lot of interacting with the jail several times throughout the day. We have to go up there and serve warrants and do a lot of different things. And not only that, we work very well with that organization, and there's times when, again, they need some backup and some help. And certainly when we're dealing with some things downstairs, they'll run down and help us on occasion if we have a deputy down there by himself. So it's a safety piece for both organizations, as well as an efficiency piece, because that's how it works.
We can even talk about just locale of where that building is. It's right where you're at. I mean, very centrally located with good access to both the interstate, Highway 22, which I think we haven't even really touched on response times. Response times are huge, and having that real short distance to get to major thoroughfares to get to your locations where you need to go. So I think it's a great location. I'm excited about that, and we're going through the due diligence process with the city of Dickinson, and I hope that goes well. But the reason we're bringing it up is that once again that costs money, and that's money that comes directly from our taxpayers and property owners currently. And this safety tax potentially could help that, soften that blow a little bit. So anyway, I won't go any further. We're really kind of in the preliminary stages of that whole thing, but that is kind of one of the things in the works, which is good information for you all. Okay, we're back here with Corey Lee, our Sheriff Lee here. I just wanted to conclude this roundtable discussion. I really appreciate you coming in, Corey. I think we've covered a lot of material here. Hopefully we've opened some eyes and offered some good insight, perspective into what you do and the challenges that you've got. This is, once again, we're trying to raise awareness about public safety in Stark County and the city of Dickinson. And who these folks are and and the challenges they have every day. I I know we've talked about the safety tax and how that might impact them. I think for the better here. I mean, I see the safety tax as a future in our people, in our future at Stark County and in the city of Dickinson here. But back with Sheriff Lee, and just wanted to offer conclusion today, and I appreciate each and every one of you for joining us today to watch this video. Whether you are for the safety sales tax or against that, I hope we've offered you some insight and perspective into what public safety looks like here in Stark County. I think Sheriff Lee and his bunch over there do a great job. And with that, we'll close. I'd like to offer you all a happy Easter. And Corey, appreciate you coming in.
Amen. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.